Because there's no clear, hard, fast rules about non-vintage champagne, although I generally suggest a couple of years.
Okay, well, considering we produce the non-vintage every year, as opposed to a vintage, we will only produce a vintage when we reckon that the year is perfect to make a wine only with the grapes of that year.
Yeah.
The non-vintage we're going to produce every year, and as I said, our cellar master is going to use reserve wines to blend into the base of a vintage to maintain the style consistent, which means that Brut Major Ayala, you can purchase every year on the new release and find something that you will remember.
Yeah, but what about in your cellar?
But that is the thing, so we will not tend to, any house will never really tend to recommend to store the non-vintage. Okay. It's something that we would recommend to drink in its youth. However, when you have a great wine in the bottle, and at Ayala, as I was explaining, we're focusing on Grand Cru, Premier Cru, first pressings. So the structure is there. It's the best juice from the best fruit.
I mean, it tastes very well structured in the glass right now. Just a bit tight at the moment.
It would, indeed. It's going to change with some time in the cellars. Yeah. I would say that you can at least keep it as long as we keep the wine in our cellars before release. We age Brut Major in our cellars.
That's a French diplomatic kind of way.
No, but it's true. It's a safe way to look at it. We store this wine in our cellars after bottling, because the bottling is in the spring after the harvest. Yeah. And then we're going to store this wine in our cellars before the disgorgement and the dosage process, before it's marketed. We're going to store it in our cellars for at least 2.5 years. Right, okay. So if you say 3 years after release, then you're safe. Yeah. You can, and what's more, at Ayala, we give a very important piece of information.
I can see it
on the back label.
When it was bottled.
We're the only ones that can see this on the back label. Not the bottling date, the disgorgement date. Oh, okay. The disgorgement date. And from that disgorgement date, that is the stage when we remove the dead yeast from the bottle, the sediment that is settled at the bottom of the bottle during the aging process. Because the second fermentation in the bottle, which creates the bubbles, is, as I said, the transformation of sugar into alcohol, which turns into carbon dioxide, creates carbon dioxide, and that results in the yeast dying and settling at the bottom of the bottle. And the disgorgement process is at the end of the aging process, after 2.5 years for our non-vintage, when we're going to remove that dead sediment, which is going to be in contact with the closure, because we will have riddled the bottles. Yeah. So either on traditional riddling racks, we still use them for our Prestige Cuvée, right? Okay. Pearl, and some of our top vintages. But we've got the mechanical machines, which is a common practice, common tool in Champagne today, because they're very effective. They're optimal in terms of quality, probably even safer in terms of quality, and a better guarantee of quality than the hand riddling. Because, you know, human beings can always make mistakes. The machine, once it's programmed, it's going to give exactly the right spin. You know, technology is so well advanced today.
But you're still relying on the person entering the data to get it right.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. One of the other... Do you disgorge, dip the neck in brine? Because a lot of people don't know that it's actually crown capped, isn't it?
It is crown capped, in the cellars, during the aging, yes.
Yeah. And then you... dip it. Is it in brine?
Disgorged. It goes through a disgorgement line. Yeah. And indeed, the neck is going to be soaking in that. What did you call it?
Brine.
That's what you call it in English. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
It's that freezing liquid.
Yeah.
Minus 27 degrees Celsius. It's going to freeze the neck basically, all that part. And since it's upside down, the dead yeast, the sediment, is right there in contact with that. Crown cap. Yeah. And so therefore here we have a little ice cube that is formed, and then the bottles are turned over and they go through the disgorgement machine, which basically simply pops that cap. Yeah. And with the 6 atmospheres of pressure that we have in the bottle, which is the pressure we have in the tire of a double-decker bus. Yep. Of course the ice cube is expelled, and the lees are gone, and so we top up the level of the wine. We don't lose that much wine, just it comes down to here, and we top it up with some wine and melted cane sugar. As I was explaining, that's the dosage with the liqueur d'expédition.
And do you want to say a little bit about why this collar's here? Because I remember last time that we had a chat, and it never occurred to me until you had said about it.
Yeah, I mentioned something about...
because in the natural disgorgement in the early days, kind of like the wine would end up being down here. And
yes,
so
correct. Yes. Well, it's not proven that it's actually that, but some people will say it's a bit of a joke. But it makes sense. Yeah. It makes sense because the level does actually come down to here. So you could think that maybe houses were using the foil down to here because they were not topping up the bottle afterwards.
I would say that for me.
But maybe other people say no, it's just a matter of packaging because it looks nice to have that foil.
Oh, that's very attractive.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah, there are a few champagne houses that don't.
Exactly, and you see more and more of the very premium cuvées of champagne, the prestige cuvées that actually have foil only down to here.
Yeah.
And I think that's, if you look at a bottle of Grand Année Bollinger.
Yeah. Very short.
If you look at a bottle of Ayala Pearl, or Cuvée Rosé Nature, our prestige Cuvée Rosé, it's all only down to here. You know, it's
cool.
Much shorter because small is beautiful. We've also, we're also seeing more and more smaller labels appear in champagne because that gives a lot more space on the bottle and gives this impression of class and elegance a lot more than these big labels that we used to find before.
I don't like back in tradition.
I
prefer to keep everything traditional.
Traditional?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and just be proud of tradition.
Yes, but at Ayala, as you can see, even though we are close to traditions because we have a cellar master who has been making the wine for 30 years, we're proud of our roots and so on, we have moved on with time and we're now presenting our wines in a more modern way than the way they used to be presented, and that I think goes totally hand in hand with the way we're presenting the wines. It's also a new way of presenting the wine with the lower dosage. It's the champagne of tomorrow. Basically, more and more people are becoming educated and therefore are after a better wine. And
totally agree.
Less sugar means that you need to have a better wine. So there's no compromise. It's you can't afford to make a mistake here on the quality. And the second one here.
Should we do the second one now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not that we spoke too much about that first one, but that was the house style.
That was the house style. 2.5 years on lees. Date of disgorgement on the back label. Full transparency. 7 grams dosage, a unique style in champagne.
Now this one is very natural.
Very natural, and we can keep talking about the first one with the second one because it's exactly the same wine actually.
Yeah.
And that's something quite unique to Ayala today. This wine was launched by Ayala in October 2005. Shortly after Bollinger took over the house. Bollinger took over the house in January 2005.
Yeah.
And
was this already in the pipeline to do this style though?
No, not at all. Not at all. There's a very interesting story. Do we have time to talk about the story?
Yeah. We'll just make it 2 parts.
Okay. Yeah. Fantastic. When Bollinger took over the house, they appointed a new president to the house. Hervé Augustin was my boss.
Right. Okay.
Very talented man. And he had a brilliant idea. He said, "I'm going to create a new story at Ayala." He had no idea he was going to end up launching a new product with this second wine that we're trying now, which is called Zéro Dosage, meaning no addition of sugar at all. And as I said, it's exactly the same wine as Brut Majeur.
Yeah.
So basically, what we're doing, we're presenting our house style naked. Of course, I was explaining that the fruit is there. The natural beauty is there, so we decided to show it without any makeup.
Very French, isn't it?
Very pure, very clean. It's a technical stunt. You have to